Well, we're going to be looking at 1 Peter chapter 4 again, and we'll pick up at verse 7. We talked about that last week. Had a little tiny crowd last week, but I'll just skim through that to get to the next point. But I'll tell you that, I said the world's a messed up place, and weather patterns are not right. And then you have a grade school, a Christian grade school, that a shooter walks in who is mentally disturbed and kills 6 people, and it's a hard place. And then you add to that dementia, and you add to that nursing homes, and you add to that it just gets really tough. So. And the rain here, I haven't seen the wheat since last Saturday or Sunday, and I was driving from Clinton to Cordell today and looked at the wheat and thought, oh my lands. I mean, so wheat's that tall and blue all over the fields, and so it's just kind of a tough place. So verse 7, he said, the end of all things is near. We spent time talking about that last week. He said that a long, long time ago. And what we know now is the end is closer than it was when he wrote this. The end of all things is near. So be clear-minded. We talked about that. Be self-controlled. Anybody remember how we define self-control? The ability to tell yourself no. That's all it is. The ability to say no. And you do all that so you can pray. And I will tell you, there are times like this where you might get discouraged to the point you might not want to pray so much. Could that be possible? Has that ever happened to anybody? You just kind of wonder. And I kind of wonder like that sometimes. But God's still in control, and if you read the Old Testament very carefully, you'll find that many, many times the people would look up and think, God, where are you? And David would say, God, where are you? And then I think about those people in Egypt who were Israelites in Egypt, and anybody remember how long they were there in slavery? 400 or 430 years, it's said both. Can you literally imagine? Can you imagine that much time passing and life be so miserable? Slaves, and you're wondering where God is, and you keep asking. But we can't give up. We can't give up. So now he says this, and it's a verse that I still don't know exactly what it means. Above all, love one another deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. Now, I understand the above all. In other words, when I say above all, what do I mean? First. This is first. This is a big deal. This is most important. So most important is you love one another deeply. Peter's the same one that was said earlier. You love one another from the heart, sincerely. You love one another deeply. Because love covers over a multitude of sins. What in the world does that mean?
It forgives over and over again.
All right, that's really part of it. You remember how many times we have said that the definition of love, according to the New Testament, appears to be that it is a behavior we choose. It is a behavior we choose. It's far more than a feeling. It is a behavior that we choose. And this behavior that we choose, according to Jesus, and we'll find it in John many, many, many weeks from now, long time from now, he will say to his own apostles at the end of his life, that by this, what will happen? By this quality of love, what will happen? The world will know you. The world will know that you belong to me. And so I've often said that the chief identifying mark of all who wear the name of Christ is the mark of love.
Because he tells us to love our enemies is what's hard. In Matthew 5, in the Sermon on the Mount, he says, I tell you, love your enemies. That's the hard one.
Love your enemies, and I can tell you that it's. You ever lose your temper? You ever lose your temper in strange places? With strange people? Not even the people you know? And you don't act in love? But if it's a chief identifying mark, and if it is a behavior, Paul will say in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 that it's a behavior that is what? Can you give me some words?
Kind.
It's kind. It's patient. It's not selfish. It's not rude. It's not arrogant or puffed up. It always protects, which it does. I mean, if I say something a bit negative about Susan's mother, what can I expect? I mean, I've done this more than once, and it didn't work out so well for me. Okay, because she's very protective, and it always protects. And what Greg mentioned is, it says that love remembers no wrongs, which is the most powerful statement, I think, of the bunch. That it chooses to remember no wrongs. That's why it means it forgives over and over and over again. So I just put it out of my mind. I don't remember the wrongs that you did. And if we love one another like that, somehow I don't know what it means. It covers over a multitude of sins. Maybe it forgives them.
Because Jesus loved us, he died on the cross for us. And because he died on the cross for us, he covered our sins.
All right, that's a good point. Jesus covered our sins because of love. That's a really good point.
Most sin is self-motivation. Like, look at the Ten Commandments. And you don't do those things when you show love.
Oh, that's a great point. That's a great point. Most sin is selfishness. It's self-motivation. And when you love, you don't do that the same. That's why there's this old statement that some people have used that you will disagree with at the beginning of the statement, but if you think about it, it may be right. Love first, and then do whatever else you want to do. That's an old, long-term statement, long-time statement in church circles. Love first, then you can kind of do whatever you want to do because you'll do no harm. You'll do no evil. Now, in this particular case, he's writing to a group of Christians who are in some trouble, whose lives are not working out so well. You're going to find in just a moment there's difficulty going on in their lives. Does that sound familiar? And I want you to love like that deeply among yourselves. We love each other deeply. I personally think that the value of Wednesday night when we come together, and it's a debatable subject, I know that, but I think it has little to do with what I'm saying right now. I think the most important part of our coming together is, what do you think I'm going to say? It's the eating together and the fellowship and talking more deeply to Janet about how Doris is doing today, and to find out about Vicki and her telling us a little bit of her story when she lived in Tulsa a moment ago, and it makes me understand Vicki more and appreciate her more because I heard a little bit of this story of difficulty she's gone through, and it's this building of a relationship. And some people are really good at that. Some people, like Ken, aren't as good at that. You know, it's just as simple as that. So what's this? Offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. Now, what does hospitality mean? Now, I know what we always think. I know how we always view that. Hospitality is what?
Serving others.
Okay, now that's pretty good. That's more like, I used to think it was only doing what?
Drinking coffee and eating donuts.
Yeah, having company, drinking coffee. And if that's all hospitality is, having company, I'm in serious trouble. I'm just in serious trouble. Because how long do I like company? Yeah, Janet's saying about that long. And, you know, hi and bye. You know, it's, but hospitality is serving. Hospitality is when you see a need, you go ahead and fill the need, and you do it without grumbling. I can tell you in 1994, if I can tell it to you with keeping my composure, I was in that auditorium and I was speaking at my grandfather's funeral. And I walked out to the back and there was a man out the back, never seen before in my life. He said to me, I want to tell you about your granddad. He said, I'm from Clinton. I worked in Clinton. And he said, I heard the stories about your granddad helping people who had need out of his general store. So one day he came to Clinton to get some kind of produce. And I said, Felix, I need $10. He said he never asked me a question, never did anything. He gave me $10. And that was a long, long time ago. And he said, now I gave it back to him, but I was just going to test the waters and see if everybody was right. It's serving or helping when you can. And so there are different ways to show this hospitality. Thankfully. Because what's this? By the way, I wish you just put the without grumbling part. I wish you left that off. It's pretty easy for me to grumble at times. Okay? It's just pretty easy. So now each one should use whatever gift he or she has received to serve others. There we go again. You need to use the gift you have received. Now, what does that conjure in your mind? What are you thinking about? What does that say to us?
Each of us have a role, and you should exercise it responsibly.
Okay, it says it here. It says this in 1 Corinthians chapter 12. It says it in Romans chapter 12, the beginning of both those chapters, that we each have differing what? Gifts. Now, I'm really grateful for that. Because one person can't do it all. And while I may not like a certain thing, you may like it really well. And if you don't like something, it's okay. It's not your gift. So one of the mistakes that we've made in congregations is we have come up with programs in congregations that we make them church-wide, and we try to force everyone into doing it. And if you don't do it, you are made to feel what? Ostracized, or at least guilty. So, anybody ever heard of having a visitation program in a congregation? And have you ever seen these cards passed out to everybody? And they give you 4 cards, and you got to have them visited by Thursday night? Well, that's just not my deal. I'm thinking, oh man, as soon as I'll just let you out, you go to the door and tell them hello. It doesn't work for everybody. And there are other programs like that we've tried and we get so frustrated because, well, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, but it's not supposed to work. It was never designed to work. It's not even in the Bible. Not everyone does the same thing really well, and not everybody does the same thing and even likes it. But what you've been given by God, you do it, and you do it well. You do it faithfully. Everybody understand that? And what you will learn if you read 1 Corinthians chapter 12 is there's not one gift more important than another. Now that's really, really important. There's not one gift more important than another. We have a tendency to think that the gift that shows up the most is the most what? Important. That is anti-biblical. That's not true. It may be that your gift and the way you use it is seldom seen by the whole. It's seldom known. And guess what? In the kingdom, it may be what? Or it is just as important as the other one that's seen all the time. Now, everybody see that? So I find people all the time who say, I'm just not that important. I'm just not that important in the congregation. I'm just not that useful. I can't do much. And I think, and I say, where'd you ever get that? How do you get that idea? Do you think that because someone gets up and speaks all the time, that they're really important and they're more important than what you are? If I was forced to do what you're doing, well, just like tonight, if we had potluck and I cooked it all, guess what? We would be in serious trouble. Susan likes to tell the story, I don't know how to make orange juice. I don't know how to get it out of a frozen can and make it into something you can drink. You know, that's really not an exaggeration. I don't cook. I would rather go buy than cook. So I could never do any of that. Could never do any of that. In fact, Greg gets aggravated, I think, with me because I say, just go buy pizza every Wednesday night. Just do, make it easy, make it simple. That's how Ken does it. Everybody understand what I'm saying? We've got different gifts. And every person's gift is really special and really important. If you use it. If you use it. And that's the whole key. If whatever God's giving you, you use it faithfully. You just keep using it. And then the body becomes a true body. It becomes whole. So, if anyone speaks, he should do so as speaking the very words of God. If anyone serves, he should do it with the strength God has given him. So that in all things, God may be praised through Jesus Christ. So, the body gets to work based on the gifts that it has, individuals, and who gets the credit? God and Jesus. We don't need the credit. Why would we take credit for something like that? Which is what you learn in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 about love. Why would you ever get puffed up, as it talks about in the beginning, because of a gift that's given to you? Why would you ever think that you're extra special because of a gift that's given to you?